Hey, Baba, are you doing a podcast?
Welcome back, everybody. Well, towards episode, I think we're on episode 5, but today I get to have this amazing guest, Alexis Grace, on with me. Alexis out in Austin, and she's also a little bit of a traveler, so she's been and lived everywhere and anywhere. Thanks for being on, Alexis. I'm glad that the universe brought us together.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to share my story and how I can help your subscribers. And absolutely, God knows how to bring people together. And I'm blessed that I meet amazing people like you.
I love that. I love that. So Alexis is also a business coach like myself. Bum, 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 bum. I love that. I love that the industry is growing, especially that it's growing towards women-focused businesses. Not that we have anything against men. I do coach some men as well, but like on the sidelines, like you got to be really close to my heart to get some of my time. No, I'm joking. But I love that it's growing, and you're a business coach, but you mentioned something to me earlier where you dive deeper into the psychological marketing side of things. Tell the listeners and myself just a little bit about more about like what you do and how that ties into what you do.
So basically, I'm also a fellow entrepreneur. So I all my business ideas basically come from personal experience. And I do two things in life, which I love and I adore my teams and I am grateful for them. First part is I own an all-female agency, marketing agency, but we don't do things as straightforward as a lot of marketing agencies do. We base a lot of our decision making and strategies on actually psychology and brain science. So we don't chase trends. We don't like, hey, this works for others, like it's probably going to work for you. We find a way to make your brand stand out and create loyalty around your brand. So your customers come once and they stay forever, basically. And my girl's amazing. So I really try to support female community as much as possible. But also, yes, I'm a coach and I do coach technically both as well. But sadly, less men than women are conscious cautious about like what would happen if we don't dive deep into psychology and what they more like, hey, I'm gonna do it. Like statistically speaking, men usually have more confidence even when they're less qualified, and women have less confidence even when they're overqualified.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, men have a very irrational opinion of themselves.
I was
So
about to say, is it because the woman's mind is a little bit more logical in sense of like, if we compare it to kids, like maybe a girl would rethink about getting dirty and playing in the mud compared to a boy who would just run and jump in a puddle and then deal with the
exactly.
consequences after.
Which, by the way, my advice to a lot of women is stop overthinking everything and just try. Like, it took me 5 years to start my agency, like, actually 7 years if you think about like all the pre thought process. And like I knew that I was ready. I knew like I worked in marketing for like 10 years and I knew I can deliver good quality, but I was like, you know what? Well, let me read a little bit more. Let me think about more. The same with coaching. I was like I've been coaching for 2 years,
Yeah.
like not officially, and I was like, hey, I know that I can do really, really good and I can bring value to people. Why don't I start? So I definitely want more women to just go for it
Yeah.
and stop undervaluing themselves because
Yeah.
they're a badass and they can do it.
It's funny that you mentioned that. So I'm the, it's really funny because I have a lot of guy friends. And so amongst my girlfriends, I can be really girly, but I grew up with two older guy siblings. Very much a tomboy growing up, which I still am, and like personality wise, I am. And a lot of people always say to me, like, why is it that you have more guy friends than girlfriends, or your guy friends are best friends? And it goes back to what you just said, that just for me, my mind and personality is like, just do the damn thing. Fuck it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? So even when I'm trying to DIY something in the house, I'm money conscious, but I also believe like, if I don't try, I'm gonna have to pay somebody. But if I try first and it works out, like, I save the money. But if I try and it doesn't work out, I'm gonna have to pay somebody anyway. And so my personality, and I think that it's hard for me to have this personality around women, because women don't like the straightforward answer. For example, if I have a friend who's constantly being cheated on, I'm not the friend to say, it's gonna get better, don't worry. Like, I do sympathize by all means. Like, I show empathy, I sympathize, but I also state the facts. I'm like, if you feel like this now and it's the 10th time it's happened, what makes you feel like it's going to be different? So I just find like, with guys, you can be straightforward and they don't take it personally. Where with women, like, you have to kind of watch what you say in that sense. Now, I don't desensitize the situations, but in terms of business, I totally see like where you're coming from in that sense, because it's very true. You know, when a guy wants to do something, they think about it and they either do it or they say, you know what, it's too much effort, I'm not going to do it. Whereas a woman, like, will sit and will stress, and then there's the anxiety and the what ifs, and what if I fail, what are people going to say, what if I have to put myself out there, what are people going to say? We think about all these things, where it's like, I read this book, which is one of my favorite books. It's called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I think that's how you pronounce it. But it really teaches you how people, and not just women or men, like people in general, get so sidetracked by their thoughts. Like, the mind is so powerful, but we don't know that the mind, we don't realize that the mind is actually made up from what society puts out and what we believe people is going to think of us. And so the mind kind of controls what we do, when sometimes, like, we really have to understand that you have to listen to, your heart. Because if you do what your mind says in that moment, you waste so much time thinking about the future that you're wasting the present. And then the future comes and you still haven't done it. So now you're wasting time thinking about the past. And I, as a business coach, am very much like, my friends hate me, because my friends, like, if they come to me and say, hey, I feel like I want to buy this shoe, I'm like, buy the damn shoe. Like, do you like it? Do you have the money for it? Even if they tell me no, I'm like, okay, do you think you're not going to stop thinking about it? If you tell me, yeah, I'll get over it by tomorrow, okay, cool. If you call me tomorrow and talk about the shoe again, I'm going to say, like, go and buy the damn shoe. And so my friends probably hate me, because if anybody ever, I won't even say friends, like, I've met strangers that have spoken to me about like a business idea, because that, or a hobby, and I'm like, you should monetize that. Like, why are you not making money? Why are you making a knitted t-shirt for your sister-in-law's new baby and not making money from this? And so I love the fact that you're saying that you're focusing more on women, because we're like, women will put their own dreams and careers aside because of how their mind twists things.
Well, as a matter of fact, to be fair to women, there are two reasons for that. Statistically speaking, first of all, statistically speaking, we are, as women, we are more repressed in a lot of ways throughout the culture, and history. So the first reason for us to actually fear all these things, because we are not given the same opportunities often as men, which, well, we know inequality and stuff, but it's not just that. It's whenever your mind is trained to see obstacles instead of opportunities on a daily basis throughout history, and especially if you consider generational curse in a way. It comes in many forms, but one of the form is actually the limiting beliefs of what a woman can do. If you come from a household where, yes, for example, my mom is a badass woman who runs a business, but still, only now when she's 53, she started to realize that her life is not her marriage, it's not her, uh, it's not her business even. It's her. And she started traveling more because she wanted to. She started to just do psychology as well. She started to read more. So basically, she started doing what she wanted. And a lot of people, the disalignment of what I want and what I need to do, it creates those thoughts. It's like, well, society tells me to have kids and get married and have like a retirement plan and have a college fund for my kids, but I want to start a business and I want to do jewelry. I want to do something that is not conventionally accepted, right? Um and because of this misalignment of what you want and what you need, often your brain feels safer when you do what you need rather than what you want. And only strong women, that's why I applaud to women entrepreneurs, because it takes some strong will to start a business and to actually go for after what you want, not just need. Second of all, it's actually brains. Women and men's brains wire differently, and it's just chemistry, it's biology. We can't really do anything about it. And when you combine those two things, one we can change, the other we can't. It's a balance, basically.
Yeah.
You have to just push harder a little bit, which it's that truth. But so whenever you don't start something, don't hate yourself on it, or when you don't just go for it, don't hate yourself on it. It's just like biology, you can't really control it, but
Yeah.
you can make a conscious effort to make little changes.
Yeah. Just based on that as well, like we could do a whole segment about generational curses. That's like my cup
Absolutely.
of tea. But, you know, I do agree with what you're saying. Like, don't be hard on yourself. But I do think that there is a fine line between also who you choose to surround yourself with. I think it's very important to understand that you can have this amazing idea and the drive and like finally get to that point of I just want to do it. And then you have like one friend or family member that puts you back into, you know what, it's a stupid idea because it's people that are not elevating your ideas and your goals in life. And I think that that is also generational curses because sometimes we get to a point in our life where we within ourselves feel like somebody's not doing enough for me in the terms of like what do you allow me to do and and grow as a person, if I put it that way. So you could have a best friend that's just always negative and just always has negative energy. And, you know, every time, like, you know, you just want to go for coffee dates. And instead of just bitching about Tom, Dick, and Harry, you want to sit down and talk about, like, hey, I have this idea, like, as my best friend, like, what do you think? And sometimes in life, like, there comes that point where you've got to break away from what's normal and go on this lonely journey because you've got to leave certain people behind if they're not elevating you to the next stage. And I'm not saying like, oh, you should just break away and not be friends with that person, but I'm saying this is where people and need to start, you know, deciding like, where am I using all my time? Am I spending all my time just going out, getting drunk, and then spending the whole of Saturday recovering? But also within me, it's like I wake up on that Saturday and I'm saying, like, I just wasted a day. I wasted where I could have gone out to a place that allows me to network and meet certain people that can point me in the right direction. And it is tough. It is tough as well for women because not all women have that personality. like there's jokes and there's memes about, a guy can walk past a guy in the office on day one and they're best friends by the next day. And for a woman, it's like a week goes by and then you see them in the bathroom and you give them like a hi. And then another week goes by and another week goes by. And like from little like meetings in a certain spot, a friendship only really blossoms like after a year. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I do think generational curses are a big factor. I come from a family, thankfully, where my parents actually sent all three of us out of South Africa at a young age because they wanted us to have better opportunities. But I do know people that come from families where it's like, well, why are you leaving? You're not going to get better opportunities, or why are you running away from the problem? And so that mindedness, I was going to say mindlessness, mindedness, it does affect adulthood. And I don't say because my parents pushed us. My parents also never came from a great financial background. And so when I wanted to start my own business at 23, I stopped myself because I kept thinking like, well, I can't take a loan to start a business because if it fails, I'm going to be broke. And I don't want to put my savings in it because if it fails, I'm going to be broke. So there was that generational curse of you always have to have money as a safety. And so I put off my dream for so long because I kept worrying about like, this is my only safety net, and then I looked at people that came from money and I was like, well, you can do it because you know what, if it fails, you still have a trust fund and you still have this and you still have this, which is also the wrong mentality. And that's why I went into coaching specifically people who don't come from financial backgrounds, because a lot of the time they stop that they use that as the reason why I can't have a business. People think like you have to have money to start a business, and you don't.
I mean, it's honestly from my experience, and I base it on my experience only. I feel like money is an excuse for a deeper reasoning why you are scared to start a business.
Mhm.
What I often work with entrepreneurs or freelancers who want to be entrepreneurs and they just shift from like a typical 9 to 5 or to into freelancing or freelancing into the proper kind of agency or kind of basically into expert kind of field. A lot of them usually have deeper reasoning for that, and one of them is actually people around them. And it can be family, can be friends. And again, yes, I completely agree with the fact that you don't have to kick them out, but it's also about boundaries. I don't believe that it's necessarily who you are, but it's how you were raised. Those those shapes of you, this version of you that is now you, helped you to survive a lot of things in your life, your childhood, traumas. It brought you to where you are now. It's just a matter of like sitting down and evaluating, like, hey, is this who I want to be in 5 years, or I want to change?
Yeah.
And boundaries is one of those things that you have to set up even with the closest people in your life. And it doesn't mean that you don't love them, but it just means that you love yourself more.
Mm.
And I come from um, a family where I was told that I can never do anything and all I can do is to be appendix to my parents. Love my parents, but it's just the way that they were raised, and this is how I was raised.
Mm.
Um, but only throughout the years, I finally understood that, okay, well, this is how they were raised. They didn't know any better or whatever. So I let it go, and now I'm being a very different person, and I am growing from a place of clarity. Like, okay, so this is who I want to be in 5 years. These are the steps that I'm doing, like that I'm taking to actually be there. And thank you, parents. Thank you, my 15-year-old self.
Mm.
I appreciate everything you've done for me, but this is not who I want to be anymore.
Mm. Yeah.
And whenever you like basically restructure yourself, you see opportunities and you including and it can be career, it can be a business, right? And you start being like, okay, well, I can do more because I'm not that person anymore. I'm a new person, and this person has like an open space of to fill with opportunities. So why don't I?
Yeah. It's like you're stepping into a new alignment, and so it's scary because sometimes when you step into a new alignment and you vibrate at different frequencies and you meet people that are now, in that same path of life, like getting there is lonely. And so sometimes a lot of people get scared by the process, and that lonely process. Maybe, they like, what, this is wrong, it's me, I'm doing something wrong, and then they go back. And so their dream or their goal sits for another 2, 3, 4 months or years, or even days before they realize, like, yeah, like I went back, but I'm still unhappy and I just don't feel whole or content with where I am in life. And so it's a lot that goes into it. It's a lot that goes into it. And like I love to be that person that, is annoying and saying like, well, why aren't you doing something with this? Why aren't you making money? Because it's sad to see talent go wasted. And I'm not saying that every time that there's a talent, like you have to start a business. No, but I do believe that you could be that one person that, in today's society, like you post online, you go viral, that's it. But you could also be the person that you don't need to make a business out of it, but there's an investor that doesn't have your talent, that is willing to like put their trust in you and your talent. And so, yeah, I'm a strong advocate for people who is like, I can't do it. I don't want to do it.
No, I actually like it. Why I'm very selective about my clients for my agency and clients for myself. Honestly, and I don't want to sound too arrogant or anything. Before you sign up for my consultation or working with my agency, we will have a talk, and I need to understand where you're growing your business or where you're growing yourself
Mm,
from. So, if you are not ready for a change, I'm sorry, we're not gonna connect, we're not gonna work.
mm,
If you're not ready to build an aware brand where you ethically right where you grow from business is very important.
mm,
And if you grow your business from manipulation, from fraud, basically from lack of quality, from all of this, I'm sorry.
mm.
I can't help you. And I know, as a matter of fact, I can help those people, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
One reason for that, and the only reason, is I do believe that there are so many people and companies who deserve the spotlight instead of a lot of frauds and terrible people
Yeah.
who don't deserve the spotlight.
Welcome to corporate. I won't say corporate America because I think that it happens anywhere in the world.
Everywhere.
The corporate life is you could work your ass off and somebody else gets a recognition because
And
they've been there longer, or they have a better relationship with somebody at the top, and favoritism is live. It happens. It happens anywhere and everywhere. And yeah.
I mean, I don't like, I know that it's about um how you see life and stuff, but I strongly believe that the smarter you are, the more talent you have, the more you deserve to be in the spotlight, the more you overthink and less you're gonna be there.
Hmm.
And I just know so many wonderful women, especially men too, but especially women who try to start their business, but they can't fight those people who basically fight dirty.
Hmm.
And that's why I'm putting so much work into coaching them and then building their company through my agency, because they deserve it more than those who just come there and treat people like trash and just like deliver low quality and stuff and ruining it for the good ones.
Hmm.
So I do believe that the smarter you are, the more self-conscious you are, the more you overthink and less, and unfortunately, less opportunities you can get because of your mentality.
Nice. And earlier you mentioned psychology and marketing.
Yeah, so sorry, I can talk about this for like an hour, but long story short, yes, we don't chase trends. We don't do hey, this worked for this similar company, this probably gonna work for you, like sadly, a lot of freelancers and a lot of agencies do. Um, and sometimes it works for some people, but I always ask my client to be, do you want to go viral or you want to build legacy? If you want to go viral, I'm sorry. It's not the purpose of
You're
this.
chasing the wrong type of agency. You got to find a social media marketing agency and not.
Yeah, like what well we do that's what we do. We do social media, SEO, influencer marketing, and we do ads and branding. But
But I think your company's goal is different to than just making somebody famous.
yes, we our goal is to create a community around your brand. So once the customer comes to you, they stay forever and they stay loyal to you. So I don't know how about you, but I'm sure that there are a lot of people, me included, for example. I'm okay, it's a bad example because it's actually a big company. But what brought me to my vision, to a certain extent, is I love Nikes. I
Oh, girl, we're best friends. We are best friends. That's the right answer. Had you said a different brand, maybe questionable.
I know, right?
I wear other brands, but like if I have to have it both in front of me,
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
It's an easy choice. Actually, oh my God. Before we move forward, I actually really want to talk to a lot of your subscribers about choices and about there is such a thing as choice fatigue.
Mhm.
But basically it's a lot of successful entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs and Zach Zuckerberg, they did it. So you limit your choices. And it's one of the tactics that I use as well, why I choose Nikes, for example, because whenever you have a lot of choices and you make little choices every day, like what do I want to eat today, or what I'm going to wear today, or what brand I want, or like whatever, it takes a lot of your brain power. And instead of spending it on your vision, on your business, on your kids, on your like life, you spend it on little by little on those little things. So limiting the choices that you have, like if you love the brand, just stick with it. If you love the dish, stick with it. If you love the shirt, stick with it. Like don't
I
change.
have a question for you since you
Yes.
are on that topic and that, your background is in psychology. I mean this question in the nicest way possible to myself.
Okay.
Is there a problem with me that I am like that? Like people find it weird that like I don't overthink. Like I am an overthinker in certain situations, but I'm never an overthinker in like, what do you want to eat? I'm like, this is what I feel like. If I'm going shopping, I see something, I want it, I buy it. I want to travel, somebody messages me and they say like, hey, you want to do this? I'm like, yeah, cool, whatever. Like I feel like just hearing you speak about it is problematic. But it's
No, girl, you hacked life. Like, I swear to you, from a psychological perspective, you hacked life for two reasons.
I love
First,
that.
you decreased your brain power to what actually matters because you reduce the amount of choices you make. So, like, have you ever noticed that Steve Jobs always wore the same thing? Always. You could see him the black turtleneck and jeans,
Yeah.
or like always. So that's the point. Like, I wear the same outfits every day. Like I literally have pictures of outfits, so I don't have to think about it. The same with food, but it creates so much space for what matters. Second of all, you do what you want, not what you need, not what's supposed to happen. You do what you want. And that's a skill. Once you nail in life, you can achieve so freaking much.
Yeah.
For one reason, if you know it's possible, you will get it. Like, I actually have a little tips and tricks for that. I do advise everyone, especially on my hopefully upcoming course and on my on my consultations. Once a week, do a couple hours or an evening of things that you want to do. So, for example, take yourself out to a restaurant that you really wanted to go. Wanted, that's a key word here. Buy a thing that you were eyeing for a week. Um, just sleep if you want to,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
So every day do like a little thing that you want, like, I don't know, 15 minutes. Every week do an evening of what you want, and every month do a day of what you want. A whole day, do whatever the hell you want. Like, no limits. No, well, I mean, I guess there is certain limits, like your moral limits.
Yeah.
Like, you're probably like, hey, I don't want to try
I mean,
drugs.
if you have morals.
I mean, I'm not gonna judge you, but let's not do anything illegal. Disclaimer. Probably advising people to do something that they want probably might maybe not that great.
Use your discernment, guys.
Yes. Nothing illegal, and as long as it's according to your moral compass, it's fine. So basically do a day of once. And what's always people like, what if I wanted to buy so many things on Amazon and I finally did it? I'm like, great. Great. Even if, well, and I always say, okay, you can return some, but as long as you keep one thing that you just wanted to have, put it on somewhere you can see it every day. This is your totem of wants. Whenever you create this neurological path so basically you create two neurons and you create a path between them in your brain of, I wanted it, I got it, even through something small as getting a candle, which I'm a candle freak.
Yeah. No,
And
I totally understand.
as long as you get this totem and like you see, okay, I wanted it, I got it, you start creating your life based around this. Like, I want to start a business, I started it. I want $1 million, I earned it. I wanted, I don't know, a BMW, I got it. And you don't see those things as impossible anymore because you think, okay, if I want it, I'm gonna get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That
you
is
hacked
definitely
live, girl.
my mentality.
Bravo.
No, that is definitely my mentality. And sometimes people are like, how? Like, what do you do? And I'm like, I live. Like, life, first of all, like, life is too short. Yes. But if it comes to also, I'm not just talking about like materialistic things that need money. Like, if I just want to, in the middle of the day, take a drive to the lake, like, I'm going to do it because, like, mentally, my mental health is telling me I just need to go and do and be by myself somewhere nice, that's beautiful, quiet, and so forth. But yeah, like, when it comes to making decisions, and that's why I'm saying, like, my friends get annoyed with me because they'll just be like, oh, I had this idea. And I'm like, just do the damn thing. Do it. Because if it fails, you tried. If it doesn't fail, we're succeeding. Like, and again, I never like to use the word fail. Like, I have had at least 4 to 5 businesses, and none of them had failed. I made money. It just, I lost the I won't say momentum or the drive. Like, I just lost the passion for it. And so, for example, like, when I first opened my business, I was young, I was in the clubs, I was partying, I saw the opportunity, and I loved planning events. And so I had a friend who was a DJ. My brother used to do events. And then I was like, well, I'm creative and you're a DJ. Let's put it together. And I loved it at the time. But then after 2 years of doing it, I was like partying in the clubs for 3, 4 years. I entered a different stage in my life and I was bored with being in the club. And so as much as I still had the business running and I didn't have to be at the clubs, it wasn't as successful with me not being there. And like for anybody that has a business, if you don't have like hands-on day-to-day, like I wouldn't say not it's not experience, like for example, if you have a restaurant and you're not actually physically there to get it up and running, at some point the vision is no longer your vision. Like it's becoming the manager's or the general manager's vision. And so, yes, if you're making money, some people are happy with it. They're like, cool, do what you want to do. But when you genuinely love what you do and like your business is your baby, I always coach and say you have to open a business without emotion. And so you can love something so much, but then there comes a time where it's like, okay, I either need to sell it off or I need to close or I need to redirect. And sometimes when you love something so much, people don't do that because it's like, I'm losing my baby.
But it's like also, I feel like a lot of people get stuck in this because they're scared of letting go,
Mhm.
but not for their like when they lose passion, it's like you entered a different stage
Yeah,
of your life. You
exactly.
had to let it go, but you couldn't because you're like, well, this is stable, this is money. I don't like, I'm scared.
But then
But
there's no growth. And so
exactly.
that's exactly what I'm saying. Like I could have stayed and I could have been unhappy. I could have been tired. I could have been this. And then there was no growth because I just like I was okay with doing what was happening. But I decided, okay, how can I? So it didn't fail. I moved to a different country. Cool. I gave it to my friend. I was like, I'm gonna be a silent investor now. You do what you need to do. You grow it how you want. It's just not my vision anymore. And so when I came to the US, I said, how can I take my passion from what I had when I started it and now redirect? And so even though that I've had four businesses, they all actually still led to what I do today, which I can do full time. And I have time for myself and I have time to travel and I have time for my family. And I'm, I'm still hands on. It's mine. It's my baby. But every single redirection, and I'm using redirection after instead of failure, every single path that I took along my journey allowed me to find what I'm happy to now fully invest and settle in. If I use settle as the word for long, like the longevity of my business now. But had I not done having a nightclub events company, had I not done a catering company, had I not create, birthday parties during COVID for people who were throwing events at home, had I not done all those things, it didn't bring me to like I have all these ideas, I have all this passion. Anybody in their wildest dream, anybody that's known me would have said like I can envision that you were going to settle in events, like you love doing that. I love doing that, but actually it was more of I just kept coming up with ideas for other people. I kept coming up with all these ideas. Events was just something that I ran under, but I'm actually really good at telling people like what to do with their talent. And
Mm.
like I'm good at motivating people. I'm good at speaking. I'm good at, being an advocate for somebody that like doesn't want to speak up. And
Mhm.
so all those failures, which people would see it as, actually redirected me into what I'm really passionate about. And that's something that like I wouldn't have picked up from just studying at school. I wouldn't have picked it up just from my day-to-day job. I wouldn't have picked it up just from staying in an nightclub. Imagine I could have been 32 with a kid and I still have to be like, oh, I've got a event running tonight. I got to pop in at the club. Like I'm in bed at 10 o'clock. Like that is not going to happen.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I and as a coach and as a person, I don't believe in failures. I strongly believe that either you succeed or you learn.
Mm.
And you have to learn a lot before you succeed. It's like you can do math problems before you learn the numbers. And a lot of people often jump into like, okay, I'm going to start a business and I'm gonna expect it to bring millions and millions a year from the first month. That's not how it works. And that's great to have a vision, but it's also you have to be realistic about okay, well, what do I have to do and the time frame? Like I'm 27 years old and I finally rediscovering of who I am truly. Not a version of community created me, not my parents, not my friends, not my previous life. Like funny story, right? I have 2 master's degrees in marketing, and the second one was actually in statistics and research.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I thought that I wanted to code and to work with data, which I do love data, but I just realized, like you did, is I'm not a hands-on person. Like I'm good at what I do. I've scaled multiple businesses. I worked as social media manager. I worked as a marketing manager. But what I realized as I am way better at managing and quality control than a hands-on approach. I have wonderful, the most talented, I love them all, team, girls on my team. And I know that they are really, really, really good at what they do. At those making posts, creating blog posts, creating branding. Like the other day, we were doing a branding for a company, and I was like looking at this thing that my girl created. I was like, oh my God, this is like on par with like Gucci kind of branding. It's like, oh my God. And I was so proud, although
Yeah.
I didn't physically do it, but because I found this person, I guided her, I talked well enough with the client. We created a strategy because I do create all my strategies for my business for my clients. We created the right strategy. I drew out the information from the client to the point where we extracted as much of juice and just the taste that we created something as wonderful and beautiful as this. So it's not, and I was burnt out and I was sad and I was unhappy when I was doing it physically. Like I was spending hours and hours writing captions and writing blog posts and stuff. And I knew that I deserved better, but also I'm like, well, my clients deserve better. So I think what's important is from your story and mine is to find you don't have to redirect necessarily, but you can find the spot within your business where you love what you do and still you can have enough vision to move it forward.
Mm.
And if you can do it, then you can start something else, and it's fine. It like I also started a bunch of businesses, and it's fine to let them go. Like you might love something at first, and then you might not love something, and then you love something else, and like I feel like I'm promoting myself, but actually not. I'm also a writer. Like I actually finished my first book like 2 weeks ago.
I love that for you.
Thank you.
That is
Um,
such a good. You see, I always believe things don't happen as a coincidence. I literally, well, I wrote. I'm really bad at English. Like I speak English, but it was not my strongest subject in school. And I just last month launched like my first business book. It's like 17. It's for the people who don't like to read. So
okay.
people like me, who's I love to read, but it takes me like it takes a lot for me to sit down and like get into a book. And so it's like 17 pages, big writing, but I'm actually writing a novel, which is going to be published anonymously because it's going to be based on true events. But it's literally before we hopped on this call, I had mentioned to Alexis that everything that I do comes from a place of dealing with like pain. And so that's just the way that I challenge myself, but also channel um, my emotions and help me with my healing journey. And so last year was a little bit of like a shitty year. Not in terms of my year was shit. Like I'm such a positive person. I believe everything happens for a reason. But like mentally and emotionally, it was a very challenging year, if I put it that way. So there was like highs and lows. And the way that I channeled it was I started my podcast. I revamped my business. I wrote the book, and then I was like, I just need to put everything that how I feel into a book. And so yeah, so that's such a coincidence. I love that. And I didn't know that about you. That's amazing.
Well, I don't like because it's still beta readers are reading it now, so I'm still
Yeah.
like in the process of editing it, but it's fiction. It's post-apocalyptic version of events. You can't the closest to it probably I'm a huge fan of Hunger Games. I adore Susan Collins, like she's my hero, and her writing is just and that kind of like her writing inspired me the way that I write.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just honestly it came to me in my dream. And
All the best books come in that way. And
right.
also, oh, you know what? We've already got like 4 more segments to talk about here, but I strongly believe you need to listen to your dreams.
Absolutely.
I feel like it's your past life.
Yes. I actually I'm a strong believer in um not rejecting anything until it's proven. And the trick here is you can't really prove anything almost in this life. Like I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, astrology is hawkers and like, it's all bullcrap and whatever, or numerology or whatever." Or well, some, there are atheists who don't believe in God or and so I strongly believe in the fact that, and I'm not trying to sway anyone one way or another right now, but I strongly believe that to keep an open mind to things.
Yeah.
Like recently, I was sort of going through existential crisis. This basically how I started my businesses and my practice. I was talking to a lady, and we kind of dive into but I started studying numerology and I did my chart and with ChatGPT basically I started digging into this. And 95% really, really, really fit my profile. And I was so impressed by the fact that, well, maybe I'm making decisions not necessarily because of my mistakes or whatever, but because it's somewhat affecting me in from elsewhere.
Yeah.
And not to take responsibility for your actions, not like that. I'm like, I still think that once you get responsible for your actions, once you take full responsibility for your life changes. But for example, it gives you things that you have to look out for, or things that you are not very strong at, but you can change that.
Mm.
So it helps you to realize who you are and how you can be a better version of yourself. And you don't have to take all of it. Like I was told that working out in a gym is apparently counterproductive for me. I still go because I enjoy it
Yeah.
and because I love it, or it says that I should do yoga, which I cannot bring myself to do. Um, so it's like you can take parts of it, but I strongly believe that there is something more going on and we can't really reject it because we can't have a proof of this doesn't exist for 100%.
Mm. Yeah.
And open-mindedness in general in life gives you more opportunities. So I would say practice it as much as possible.
I always choose who I have certain conversations with because I feel like I really hate energy of people who are close-minded. Not, I again, like I don't judge people. I have friends that are very close-minded, but I just choose what I would talk about with them because I feel like it's draining. It's draining one trying to have a conversation with somebody that's constantly just shutting it down, and also things like, oh, you're trying to convert me. No, I'm just actually just trying to have a conversation. Like, even if you disagree with me on everything, like I just enjoy seeing your point in the situation. But I always say I choose who I have certain conversations with. And so recently it's been so like nice, and maybe it's just the vibration that, I'm on and we're on, that I'm just meeting people that are very open-minded, um, and indulge in certain conversations. Because I will say this last year as well, I went down some rabbit holes I thought I would never go down, in the sense of like just learning about it. And it is wild, because I agree 100% with what you're saying, that there is so much information, there is so much things that is unknown to us as humans. And it's just very interesting to see how a lot of what we feel can come from just little elements, and even like the decisions that we make and stuff. And that's why I say, like, one sign that is always big to me is dreams. And like, I sleep with a journal next to me, and if I wake up from a dream and I can remember it, I always write it down. Because you wake up in the morning and it's like, oh my word, what did I dream about? And I write it down, because like, things in my dream, I always like research what they mean. So for example, like, if I had a dream, and in the dream, like, I remember seeing a lion, or I don't know, a snake, like, I'll research what that means. And it always ties back to like what I'm subconsciously not realizing during my day to day, like, go abouts. Like, sometimes like our subconscious picks up stuff, and like we don't realize it because our active mind is so busy with everything. And so you dream about it because your subconscious is like, your actual body and mind is at rest now, so your subconscious can communicate with you. And so sometimes, like, let's say you research what does the snake symbolize, or what was the snake doing, and it will always come back to like, what do you feel in that moment? Like,
Yeah.
are you actually suffering from anxiety because of a situation that you can't control? And it's like, oh shit, I am. Like, there was something that happened with me and my daughter. We had an argument and she's not understanding something. And then you dream about it in a different weird sense of a way. And that's like your mind telling you, like, okay, take a step back. How can you change it? Like, if you're saying like you're feeling anxious because of the situation, how can you deal with it? And so yeah, I love that we deep dived into that little rabbit hole.
No, I honestly, well, there's actually scientific proof that your dreams is your subconscious well, well, first of all, women have to sleep more than men. Let's
I've
just
been at 8 o'clock. I mean,
actually no, from 8 to 10 ideally.
8 to 10. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
So the reasoning behind this is women think on average a million thoughts, there is a million and something thoughts more than men a day. How our brain stores information, basically, imagine your brain as a hard drive. Um, Hard drive, let's say it's connected to your iCloud. And while you sleep, your information from your hard drive moves to your iCloud
Mm,
and frees up space on your hard drive for new information.
mm,
So, women, because we think more and we have more ideas, we have more passions, we have more thoughts to think about and stuff, we need more time to process that information and move it to hard drive.
mm.
So whenever you sleep, men can actually sleep as little as like 6 hours and they're gonna be fine. If a woman sleeps for 6 hours,
My
oh my
husband should hear you
goodness,
say that.
like we probably not gonna function. I'm sorry, I'm a 9 hour sleeper,
Mm.
and a lot of women actually and a lot of people stigmatize it so much, and they're like, oh my God, like my ex-boyfriend, he was constantly on me about this because he's like, oh my God, I'm fine, wake up, I'm fine, I got enough sleep. I'm like, dude, no. And
Yeah.
he was like, oh, you sleep so much, you sleep so much. I'm like, I sleep 8 hours, it's not much. I
That's
like
so funny. Like, I feel like I sleep a lot, and I at least always say like I need 8 hours sleep, because I actually feel like if I sleep more, like I'm lethargic. Like my day feels like I overslept. But I always feel like I can also work off minimal sleep. But I feel it. Like it will count, there will be like after the third day, my body just like shut down.
It's a reserve thing. Like you, so our sleep, how it works, and again, sleep and brain is something that is super under research, so please fit it as much as possible to you. Like if you feel like more than 8 hours is too much, whatever. For me, like if I sleep 9 hours, I feel the greatest. If I sleep 8 or 10, I feel like not really great. So, but the thing is, our body works in a very interesting way in the sense that it can actually strive on little sleep, on little food, on little water for a very long time. Well, considerably long time. But it will catch up with you. So our brain and our body, they are wired to survive. So imagine the hunter-gatherers and like people who hunted like hunt the big mound thingies thousands of years ago. I'm not very good at history, okay?
Oh,
But
girl, you're speaking to the wrong person, the wrong woman on that.
the point is, in the Stone Age, our brains, you have to understand, our brains still live in a Stone Age. They haven't like it took thousands and millions of years for us to become Homo sapiens. There were like Homo erectus, a lot of homos, and we are the only ones right now because we evolved. Our brains, because the from what it was from like in the Stone Age and now, it's very little. Like it's just a blurb in the history. Our brains haven't adjusted yet, and so whenever we sleep or not sleep, eat or not eat, whatever, our body will do anything to survive. Because when they traveled from one place to another, they could not eat or sleep for a few days just because they needed to reach that point. As well as, for example, if you move somewhere cold, your body will adjust and you will be more perceptive to cold, heat, or whatever, because our body is meant to survive. But it will catch up with you.
Yeah.
That's the worst part. And a lot of people was like work so much. They like, okay, I'm just gonna ignore the sleep, I'm gonna ignore the food, I'm gonna ignore the rest. I'm just gonna work for 24/7 and just gonna put all these hours and then I'm gonna rest. No, you're gonna work until your body breaks, until it catches up with you, and then you're gonna, for a month, either you're gonna be sick because it always comes down to physical, or you're just going to be so burnt out, so you're going to be depressed on a couch for a month, just staring in the blank space.
Yeah. And it's difficult as well, especially, for moms. The mom guilt kicks in of,
Yeah.
you know, I've got to be up before my kid, I've got to get things done. And when they always say, obviously, when you have a baby, you should rest when the baby's resting. But unfortunately, like, you can't. And so you do prioritize your kids as a mom, especially in the sense of a lot of women choose to be stay-at-home moms. And even so, like, you're a stay-at-home mom, you don't rest. Like, the kids are at school, you're trying to clean, do laundry, all these things. And this is what I was saying to you earlier. For me, as much as I love money, if I put it in that sense, like, I value my time. Yes, I want to make money and I'm very happy with, what I make, but I value my time. And there's no when I worked in a corporate job that allowed me to make money and work overtime, I and if my friend is watching this, he worked with me and we always talk about it, is that we were always the only two that always said no. We valued our time. First of all, work-life balance is so important, but also for your mental health, physical health, emotional well-being. It just wasn't like, who doesn't want to work overtime? It's double the pay, like, why wouldn't you want to do it? But I can't bring myself to do that, because, and I'm not speaking in sense of there are people that need it. There are people that financially are in a situation where they need to work overtime. At the time that I was working corporate, I would say like I was in a position where I would have loved to have a little bit overtime, but it just for me it wasn't important, and I carry that over into my coachings. And I always say to entrepreneurs, it's getting to that time of Friday. But I always say to them at the end of the day, like, what's your main goal? And they say, like, I just want more time with my family and I want to make money. And the best part is once you're already making money and you have, you're working, plus then when you're sleeping, your business needs to be making a passive income when you're not working as well. But in my household, if I go to work, I literally get out of my bed, I walk to my office at 8 o'clock, and at 4:30, that's it. Yes, sometimes during the day I step away, I have extra time because it's my own schedule. I make it. But at the end of the day, if we're having lunch, there's no work during lunch. If it's weekend, there's no work during weekends. If it's 4:30, that's it. Like that's my Monday to Friday. And I prioritize other things like, my writing and my podcast. I prioritize it when it's bedtime or it's nap time or my kid is at a party or on a play date, because at the end of the day, the whole goal for what I want is based around my child. I want my child to have my time. Do you know what I mean? I could be working a corporate job 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and then like still taking 2 hours before to get to work and 2 hours after to get home. And so it is tough because when I'm not working, I'm spending all my time with my child. And so I think like that a bad mom remorse kicks in. And so a lot of women put themselves in that category as like, oh, I shouldn't actually be resting now. It's selfish to rest now. And they want to do a million things at once. And yeah, I will say like, when I was starting my company while working corporate, like a full-time job, you have to create a schedule. But at the end of the day, like you have to say to yourself, it's going to be worth it. It's going to eventually work in my favor.
I mean, at the end of the day, like, whenever I ask people that, and on my sessions or in life, people get startled because they're like, I ask them one simple question, and I want everybody to answer it to themselves because it's a very important question to ask yourself every day that you wake up. What do I really want? And when people often chase superficial values. Like, I want money, but money is very subjective. Like, for some people, making 1,000 a month is already a lot. For some, 1 million is not enough. For some, like, I've met people who
Chasing money.
and so I ask this question because getting to your true values and true desires, that will help you to grow, not from burnout, not from exhaustion, but actually it will help you to work from and build and grow from true values, from true passions. That's your fuel, basically. That's your pillars for your life. And the question is, what do you truly want?
Mm.
And I don't want you to answer like, I want money. No, you don't want money. You want comfort. You want education for your kids. You want status. You want, and there's a whole thing. Then, or I want a car. No, you don't want a car. You want a method of transportation. Again, you want a comfort. You want to travel. You want a status. You want whatever. So every superficial value has an underlying either issue or value underneath.
Mm.
And whenever you go deep and whenever you discover your true values, that those are your justification for overworking, those are justification of your time, whatever. And based on what you truly want, you build your schedule, you build your work, you build your life around it. Like, if it's for you, you don't want money. you want a good, better life for your kid. You want freedom to spend time with her. You want to create a better environment for her. So obviously, you're not going to go into overworking because your value is not money, your value is her.
Yeah.
So, and I want everybody to kind of think about this and choose your next steps and choose your next actions based on what you truly want, not on like, well, I want money. And what? And then what? Like, what are you gonna do with it? Are you gonna like, throw it into and dive into this? Like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Coach McDonald, like or
But
whatever
I
they
think that's what society has,
exactly. That's
made
what the
people
content means.
realize. Like, first of all, you starts in school. What do you want to be when you're older? Oh, but that's not going to make you money. Like people are going to study something that they're not passionate about. And so most of the time, and this is not to bash anybody, but a lot of people I know that never ever actually went into the career fields that they studied, unless they are a lawyer or a doctor or engineer. There's a lot of people that I know, for example, they studied psychology. They are not psychologists today. They are like not even close to, because you can go into a lot of fields with psychology. You can go into a lot of fields with marketing and so forth. But there are people that I know that studied and have these student loans and they're not doing anything that they studied. And it starts from I need to go and study to have a degree, to get a good job, to get good money. And for example, whatever works for anybody, 100%. But I hated, as a teenager, I don't like to use the word hate, but I hated the decision my parents made because my parents didn't have the money to send me and my siblings to university. And so they worded it in a way of figure out what you want to do and then we can circle back. But obviously my upbringing, the schools that my brothers and I went to, we shouldn't have even been able to go to it because we couldn't afford it. But our parents still said they need to have still a good high school and a good primary school so that they can still succeed out of school. And at the time that we finished school, having a degree wasn't such a big thing yet that it is now. Now it's like you don't have a degree, you can't do anything with it. But my parents and all my friends were going to the best university because, again, the high school that I went to, my parents couldn't afford it. And so I was surrounded by these families that could afford to go to universities and they had the opportunities. And so I was the only one of my friends at the time that was like, what are you going to do after high school? Oh, I'm gonna take a gap year. I'm gonna work. And so I did. And I hated the decision because at the time I didn't understand it was financial reasons. At the time, my parents said, you don't know what you want to do. Are you gonna be a doctor? No. So why are you gonna go and study? You want to be a lawyer? No. So why are you gonna study? What are you gonna do? Tell me what you want to do and we'll make it happen. But I didn't have an answer. I said, I want to go into marketing. And they said, okay, so it's business. So go and work and figure it out, take a gap year, and then decide. And I did that. I worked for a year. And then after a year, I moved out of South Africa and I went into retail. And then I said, okay, no, I have to study. So I paid for my own studies and I studied online and I studied marketing. And I hated it. I was like, I thought I was good at marketing because I felt creative, but when it came to like the studious part of it, I hated it. And so I stopped. And luckily at the time, like I was studying correspondence, it wasn't like I committed to a degree. And so I could get credits. And then when I was ready, I figured it out and I transferred my credits. But then I took like a 2-year gap. And then I went to be a flight attendant. And then after a year of enjoying as a flight attendant, I said, well, I just want to do like one contract. And then I said, well, what do I want to do after? Am I going to go back into retail? I absolutely loved retail, but not in the store. I said, well, if I want to be like in corporate, in retail management, like behind the scenes,
Mhm.
I have to have some background. And so I went into studying again. And then it got too much. I was like, well, I'm working a full-time job as a flight attendant. I have minimal sleep. I'm trying to study as well. I'm not enjoying my job because on my layovers I have to study. And then after a year, I stopped again. And I was like, man, imagine like I did this and I kept stopping and I had all these student loans from a university. And then I still didn't know what I wanted to do. And then only when I moved out here at 29 did I take my credits and I was like, you know what? I need to study. And again, my decision came from not because I need to grow in corporate, but I want to better myself as an entrepreneur and better myself in business. And so I finished my degree not because I want to go and show somebody else, like, hey, I want to climb the corporate ladder. 100%, if that's where my mindset was, I have it. I have it on paper, I have it on my resume, I can grow. But I always knew like I want to be my own boss. And so people would say to me, but why are you studying now? Like you're a mom, you're this, you're that. Why are you finishing your degree if you have your own business? Because it's for myself, not only to just accomplish that I have my degree, but I'm learning so much more that like I can't, there's only so much I can teach myself. And so I do say like, it starts again, it comes from your upbringing, generational. I won't say a curse. It's not a generational curse because parents want the best for their kids in that sense. But
Absolutely.
that's the tradition of it. The tradition is if I sit back with a lot of my aunts and uncles and I say like, well, why did you push out my cousins into this? They'll say, because we were pushed into it and we did this and we did that. It's like when you have a wedding. I want a really small wedding. My mom was like, you must invite this one and you must invite this one. And I literally said to her, I was like, one, I don't know them. Two, why? Give me a valid reason as to why I need to invite them. And she said, it's just right. And I'm like, that's not a reason. Like you need to break tradition and you need to do things out of the ordinary sometimes. And again, we don't understand that it's so crucial what and how we choose to raise our kids. Because again, it's like you shouldn't just push your kid into going to study to be a doctor because the money's good as a doctor. What if your kid is squeamish and doesn't even like blood? Like,
I mean, my parents are not perfect in any way, but I also understand that they do as much as they could and as better for their knowledge as much as possible. Like, unfortunately, there's no manual when you give a birth. There's no manual. Nobody's giving you like, okay, this is the right way. I always like I
each
talk
to
to
their
my
own.
mom. Exactly. Like I talked to my mom, my sister's 10, and I talked to her and she's like, I don't know what to do with her. I'm like, Mom, it's okay. It's okay not knowing. It's okay to make mistakes. Even the best parents are gonna scar their kids. It's just the truth of life. And as long as you stay true to yourself and as long as you are you and you create a bonding experience with your kid, in my opinion, that's how I want to raise my kids is just yeah, like they don't have to be scared of you. You don't have to push them. You don't have to, you just
Yeah.
give them a choice.
Yeah.
And when it comes to universities and all of this, I always like I was pushed into business school first, and then I was pushed into marketing, and then I was pushed into like a lot of things basically, into working and all that. And I honestly never stopped and asked myself, and I feel like a lot of people never question it. They just kind of go with the current and what did my parents said, I'm just gonna go. Well, I already started. I'm gonna go. I already like have a degree, so I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
And then it makes them so unhappy because they're not chasing their dreams. They're chasing the dreams of their parents, of the society, of literally anybody
Yeah.
themselves. And I think gap year actually, as controversial it is, it's not as bad.
Mhm.
Just because what you said, I really, really loved what you said about that you have to go to school to learn for you, not to get a degree. Like I was chasing degrees. I lost my teenagehood. I lost my early 20s because I was a straight A student and I was a perfectionist and I didn't even love what I'm studying, but I was just
Yeah.
like, I kind of have to, you know? And I think that if I had just a little bit of time to figure it out, because our brain stopped forming at 24. Like, I was like, how can you know what you want if you haven't even lived a life?
Yeah.
Like, I don't judge anybody. Like, the same with like marriages, the same with like, I don't know, like big changes in your life, like school and stuff. I feel like you have to feel it out first. And yes, there are some great examples. Like, I have a really great friend. She's amazing. They're both amazing. Like, her and husband, they are in love and they've been married for like 13 years since they got out of high school. And that's great. But I also have examples when people get married and, divorce each other in like a year because you know nothing about yourself.
Mm.
How can you be sure what's the great move for you in the future?
Mm.
And so I I'm not against either. Like, yeah, sometimes you just kind of want to get it out of the way. But also, if you took a gap year, or if you never actually attended university, or if you're at the age and you're not married or whatever, I don't want anybody to feel bad about themselves,
Mm.
precisely because the more you learn about yourself, the better decisions you're going to make, and for better reasons.
Mm.
Not because you have to, not because it's what's right, not because of anything, but because you want to.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's very important to understand your reasons for anything.
Yeah. And I think, like, there's no right or wrong way. I
Uh,
think that we learn as we go. I do think that a big step in a lot of how your life is determined is from your upbringing. And so it does go back into one needs to do the inner work to know where they want to be in life. And sometimes that comes very late in life, sometimes it comes early in life. And again, it's just important to, open yourself up to new and different things as well, because that allows you to gain a different type of knowledge. And I always say, take what resonates, and what doesn't, to our listeners, that's fine. We're not pushing our information upon you.
oh, I mean, it's not really pushing, it's not even teaching. Like, I always say, like, we take as much as, yes, exactly, resonates with us, and as much as we want to change.
Mhm.
Like, my best, I guess, advice to people would be, A, understand what you want. B, surround yourself with people who hype you up no matter what you do. It's very important
Yeah.
because people, like, there is a saying that, like, your friends should be by your side when you're at your lowest. No. Friend is the person who stays with you when you're at your highest.
Yeah.
Because I actually recently I've gone through certain I combed through my friends and I disregarded, let's say, a few friendships, because precisely because I knew that those friends weren't giving me value.
Yeah.
And not in the sense of, like,
Sometimes when
material.
you actually make it, those are the ones that fall off because they don't want to see you make it.
Exactly. Whenever you're at your lowest, they feel better. They feel better about themselves because they feel like, oh, my life is better now. I can, be there for you.
Some people
But
like to be around people to make themselves feel good. So when you're at your lowest, you feel like friends feel like they keep you around because they feel higher. So when you elevate, they no longer want to be around that because now they are, not superior to you.
and it's like people often scared again to like kick people out of their lives, like because it's either family or it's either long-term friends and whatever.
They're
Which,
scared. Like loneliness is a scary place to be, and sometimes people also just like validation of people.
I mean, I always say you don't have to kick them out straight away.
Yeah,
Or if you can, like, if for example, your parents are toxic, you don't like, you don't have to kick them out because, I mean, they're your parents.
yeah.
But
Keep them
set
at
up
arm's length.
boundaries and limit the amount of things that you say to them, the amount of you communicate with them. So you can say still like call once a week, once a month, be like, hey, are you good? Good, okay.
Yeah.
But you don't have to like, as long as you spend 80% of your life with people who love you, support you, and hype you up, no matter what, no matter how crazy the idea,
Yeah.
because they know that it what makes you happy, you're gonna be good.
Yeah.
It's a healthy rule of 80-20. As long as 80 is good, 20 can be, well, what has to be
Yeah.
there.
Well, I agree. And we could be here like all night yapping. So we're not gonna keep anybody longer. I would love to have you back for another segment. Like I said, there was so much other like rabbit holes we went down, which was exciting. So I appreciate you coming on and chatting to us. And yeah, is there anything else you want to say?
No, I mean, I'm very grateful for meeting you and for talking to your listeners, because I'm sure if they listen to you, they must be awesome. Because I mean, awesome people attract awesome people.
I love that.
I'm hyping myself up right now.
As you should. As you should.
Absolutely. Who will hype you up if not you? So,
Right.
my only thing is like just do what you want, do what you
Do the
love,
damn thing.
and be around people who love you, support you, and hype you up. And that's it. Like that's literally the whole thing about this podcast is that dig deeper into yourself and be with people you love. That's it.
I love that. Well, thanks so much for coming on.